Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to Simply Drawing with Everett. I'm back here doing a simple drawing here tonight, so welcome aboard. I'm broadcasting live from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm sending my message out to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch. Um I'll be doing Facebook and also Instagram later on. I'm in my studio tonight with my wife, Gloria,
Welcome, everyone.
and she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also checking my chat room. Chat room's live, so if you have a question or comments, please send them along to me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I appreciate that. This is your first time to view the broadcast. Give me a like and a thumbs up, and invite your friends. Let them know I'll be down here. I'll be here every week. So what I'm going to do tonight, we're going to do a simple drawing, and if you looked at my broadcast, you'll see that I'm going to be doing painting as crumpled paper. And this is an old sandwich bag. That's all it is. You crumple it up into a nice, interesting shape, and that's what we're going to draw tonight. So let me take you over to my drawing table, and let me get started to show you. Overhead. Yeah. Okay. Now there's a photograph. I took that crumpled piece of paper which I just showed you, and I put it into. I moved it around and got it into a position. Then I took a photograph on my still life table. And then I'm printed out here. So that's the photograph that I'm going to be using in the reference tonight. So let me move that aside. Now, my material I'm using tonight, I've got a piece of 8.5 by 11 sketch pad paper, and I've got a 4B pencil. That'll be for shading. I got a 2B pencil also for a little bit of darker lines. And I'll use the HB to get the painting drawing started. HB. Then I got a kneaded eraser for erasing construction lines, and I've got a stump here to do a little shading at the end. Okay, so let me get started here. I'm going to start with the HB pencil to get a nice light outline in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the photograph up here so you can also take a look at while I'm drawing. So that's the topic I'll be drawing tonight. And so what I'm going to do is start out with a basic outline. I'm going to start here to get started at the bottom here, and start here, make it about this big here. Start with the bottom line, and then going to get the major outline, major outline of the subject. Just following the outline of the figure. There's a little shape here. I might simplify a little bit of this, but I'll get the general outline here started. And then I have another little section here. And this part goes behind, comes down. Let's see, we've got a little catch here, and this comes on around, okay? So that's the kind of general outline I have. And I'll bring it up here to the, you can see here, I got the general outline, okay? Overall outline of the subject. So let me now make some minor corrections here. Might want to make this a little bit bigger up here on this side, and this will come out maybe a little higher, a little more over here. I like that. Okay, this comes around. Maybe it's like checking over a little bit bigger. Okay, come down here. This is about okay here. Okay. Now, the next step, once you get the outline, is now go in and start making some decisions on how much of the design you're going to get of the actual shapes. And I'll start over here on the right-hand side over here. I see part of this is in light, and there's a little shape here I'm going to draw in. A little contour drawing here. Goes down, and it has a little curve here at the bottom. It's like an S curve right here. This right side of the shape here, and there's a deep shadow in here, and then there's a little curve in here about here. You see the curve of that bar. I'm going to get a couple reference lines here. There's this comes down, curls. This kind of curls around. There's a long line right here. Kind of slopes down a little bit, and it comes down and comes down about like that. Okay, and then there's another section up here which comes up, and it has a little, there's a little light, and it has a little hill to it, kind of a round shape to it, and then it goes up here like that. Okay, then there's one there in the background. I'm going to simplify this section back in here because it's a lot of crumpled lines, but there's a little section that comes up here around the back behind, because a lot of that's in shadow. Okay, then right in the middle of the bag, there's a nice crease right here. There's a nice crease, so that's a good one right there. This one here, there's a nice crease right here. It goes up, and then it has a little curve to it, and then it comes down, something like that. And then there's another one's got a nice crease. This big one up here on the top here. This goes up and has a shadow there, but we won't put the shadow in yet. And then this comes around here, and this goes in the back. Okay. Now there's another crease over here I want to get. There's one on the far side here. This line comes out. There's a little dip here, and then it comes over here. Okay. Try to make sense out of some of these terms here. This one here comes down a little bit more. Okay, and there's a little dent over here. Okay, now once you get some of the major shapes in there and major iron, now we start going a little more detail. So what I'm going to do now is pick up a little darker pencil. I want to start putting in some of the shading now, some of the shadows, some of the grooves and so forth. I'm going to pick up the 2B pencil, start adding in some of the darker shapes. I'll start on the right hand side again over here, and there's a shadow here. Goes in behind here, up behind this part of the bag here, or part of the crumple right there, and then there's a darker shadow here going over the top of this, and there's this part in here has a shadow in this section. There's a deep shadow here. It goes across the top. This middle section here, there's a nice deep shadow here. Okay. I come down here a little bit. Okay. Then there's a little groove in here. Let's see. I'm gonna get this section in here. This comes up here, and there's a shadow at this section here at the bottom. Working on this side of the bag, or this side of the shape here, and back here on this side. Okay, gonna come down here, and there's a little dent here in the bottom. Look at that. There's a little. It has a curve like this, and it comes around. Has a shape here, and I'll put that in. Going over here on this side, there's a little shadow in this section over here. So we're starting to get some of the action up here. There's a deep shadow in this section right here. Right in the middle, right in the middle. And let's see, it curves up like that. This one comes down. This is a little bit longer in here. There's a shadow in here. And back here in the back, there's a nice big correct that shape there. A nice big shadow back here. There's a shadow right there. And that depends on the direction of light. I put a lamp on this to give it some dimension. And so depends on where you put your light source is where the shadows will come in. So you want to find, once you crumple the paper up, you want to get a nice, you put a lamp or a light source somewhere where you get a nice shadow pattern on the shape. And you move it around and look at it from different angles to see if you're satisfied with it. And that's how you start out. Okay, this groove down here has got a little groove in it. Let's see this shape here. And this section over here has, this side over here, there's a deep shadow over here. And there's a crease over here on this side. So you have to find out all the creases that are really the most prominent ones that shade in. Okay, now we're getting a little bit of shape to it. Then there's a little bit of shadow at the bottom. And there's also a shadow pattern off to the side. I'll put some of that in, just kind of get a little. There's a little shadow from the shape itself, and it goes up here and it goes behind, up in this direction. So that would help define some of the edges. So this is this is a good practice on drawing contours and shapes, and getting an idea of just how to capture an odd shape. I think the real advantage of this is the good practice for getting your eye to capture the shapes and to draw different shapes from different angles. Okay, now I'll take the blender now and trying to darken up some of these areas along here, just filling in some of the spaces. And I'll go back and fine tune some of these, but I'm getting some of the darker areas started here. This is dark in here. This section's really dark in here. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take the 4B. Now I'll pick up the 4B pencil. I'm going to get darker even yet. So the 4B pencil is a darker lead. So I'll go in now. I'm going to start. I'll define the outline now. Get the outline again. And I like that shape there. This shape here is that curve. It's like an S curve here. That's good. Then there's a back shadow here in the back. This goes down behind it here. That S curve is pretty well defined in the shape right there. This S curve right here, soft S. Then this shape here is a little bit bigger, and it stops right there. The S curve is a good reference point. Okay. And this shadow here comes around a little bit more definition here. And then behind this edge here, there's also that shadow gets a little bit bigger here, right there. Now there's some what I'm doing now is kind of adding some contour, adding some shading in here that gives a shape of the sides, because there's a little curvatures here, and there's little bends and so forth in the paper. So you just do a little shading on some of the edges. This one around here. This is a nice dark shadow in here. This one behind is a nice dark shadow. This edge here is well defined. This edge here, nice dark shadow back here and behind. Okay. This shape in here, there's a crease in here that's got a shadow, this section. And back in here is a little bit more. Now I'm going to shade. There's again a little bit of folds in the paper here, so I'm capturing a little bit of those little shading to show that there's a little dimension there, a little bend in the paper, and there's a little bend up in here. So this shows you shade in the areas that are like little grooves or little dents, because it's not smooth. It's not a smooth contour. You've got all kinds of dents and grooves in the paper, but they're shallow. They aren't steep. They're kind of gradually bend. And this one over here is a little bit more there. So okay. Oh. And what we do is we continue to work on the shapes and so forth. Let's see if I want to erase anything out of here. I think I've got most of it I like so far. You can always go back and work on some of the shapes, and also take out some of the. I erase a little bit over here. Carry that up a little bit more. I want an opening here. This has got an opening up here, a little bit more. So I'm erasing some of the marks I made. This is nice and dark up in here. There's a little groove in here, little bend. So if you follow something like this from the photograph, then everybody is going to have a little bit of opinion on how they want to draw that. So there are some interpretations, but my advice to you would be to take the simplest shape that you can find. Don't make it so complicated that doesn't make sense. I mean, if you get the gist of it and you got the likeness of it, then you've accomplished your job. In other words, we're not trying to do a realistic drawing. This is not a realistic drawing. This is just your interpretation and practicing drawing the shapes.
It's a good observation and shape study.
Absolutely. Contours. This will help you become better at identifying contours and shapes, and also practicing shading, because there's a lot of little grooves in here that you can draw in, but then you don't need to draw them all. Just get the most important ones. Just get the most important shapes that defines the subject, and make it look like the subject that you're doing. We're trying to do an interpretation here. And now I can take the blender again. I'm going to take this and kind of shade in some of these lines I put in. These are going to shade some of the sides, some of the grooves. Give it some shape. The form of anything, the form of any kind of shape, it'll have dimension to it. It'll have a roundness to it or a flatness. So you want to capture that feeling that this has got a little rounded shape to it, or it's flat, or it's curved, or it's got a straight line. And that identifies the shape, that identifies the outline. Okay. Now I'll go back here in the background and darken up the background. Now this is just a shadow, cast shadow here from the light source. But that helps define in the background, helps define the edges around the object. Okay. All right, let's check some things. This point up here, shadow comes in. There's a shadow down in here. I like that. This groove in here is captured. This groove down here at the bottom. There's one in the middle here. It's very prominent right here. This groove right in here. There's this top groove across here. That could be a little straighter. It could be just a little straighter. There we go. Okay. And then there's this little dark area in this section, and a dark shadow back here. Then a dark shadow here. Then we come over on the left side, and we got a little dent on this side. And let's see, this would probably go out a little bit more, kind of a not a circular, but would go out a little bit more of an angle like that, and erase that edge a little bit. Okay. Okay, if you look at the photograph on the up the right there, you look at the photograph there and look down here at the drawing. You got, I don't see that. I don't see which one you're talking about. This one here. Okay. It's you know, you can fine tune this a little bit more. This one here, this little groove in here, just one little correction right in here. This place here, this comes across here, and this shadow is very dark in there. Now, the more you erase it, you're going to make the things a little bit fuddled up. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I got it. I know that's that part right in there. Okay, this part's really groove, and this one goes along. So that's good. Okay. All right. So this is the one I did tonight here in live, on live show and tell. And what I suggest you do is you get you can use the picture here that it's in the video, and try this yourself. And also just take get your own crumpled paper. It could be an old lunch bag or a piece of tissue or whatever, and just put it in front of you. Now I did this a little earlier, and this is my first attempt. I'll show you one I did before also. This one's on a little bit. This is on colored paper. It's got a little bit of yellow background to it. Here's the one I did earlier. So this is an earlier one I did of the same photograph or the same picture, okay? And you can see here I got a little more about the same shape. I was a little more defined to here. This was good in there, so I got just about the same as I did on the one here on the live broadcast. So that's the one I did. This is the one I did earlier, and this is the one I did tonight, and they're pretty close. They're pretty close. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so. Let's go back to the main camera, and there's a photograph there of the thing I just did. Let's go back to the main camera. Okay, well, a couple of words of advice here that drawing a crumpled paper is a great way to practice drawing your contour, which we stated during the drawing. Contour drawing, following a shape. It also shadows, getting detail shadows, edges, and the tones, especially the tones. You got the dark shadows, which is the creases and so forth, but then you got those little tones that show the shape of the object, the valleys and the grooves and so forth. And that the crumpled paper is a good free thing. It's a inexpensive model to have. You can sit up in front of you with a little light on it. And I would recommend putting a light on it to get a shadow. Get a shadow pattern so you see the creases and the angles and so forth. And you can adjust, I think adjusting the tones and the contours and getting the grooves properly on there and getting the shapes properly, I think is a good example. And again, this is what I started with, was an old paper bag, just like this. and I just crumpled it up and I laid it down. Then I moved it around. Oop, I moved it around when I put a light on it so I could see some of the contours and everything, and that's how I came up with it. Okay. So it was that simple. So I'll be back again next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Simply Drawing with Everett, and I'll be back on Thursday also at 2 o'clock p.m. with Everett's Watercolors. So if you want to draw and put your sample, you're welcome to come aboard in my Facebook page, which is Everett's Watercolors Art Group, and you can post your drawing on there and share it with the group on there. I really enjoy seeing that. So you're welcome to do that also. And I'll be back. I'll do a simple drawing on the weekends. I'll do one on Sunday, and I release a little. Anyone can draw with one line only.